So yeah, sorry about the delay. We're picking up from where we left off after a very tough Freya fight. I would definitely recommend watching the previous two videos if you haven't beforehand, although you can watch this in isolation if you feel like you must. The basic rule set is that everything that is not absolutely required to beat the game has been turned into rubbish. This includes effigies, so my character will be at full hollow the entire playthrough, and I'll be killing everything with my fists. Without further ado, let's continue where we left off. We start off needing to open Drangleic Gate itself. These enemies can be quite annoying, they can gang up on you and they have ranged attacks, and they actually take a lot of hits to kill. So the strategy here is to kill the one on the right first, because if you stand far enough right you don't spawn the other enemies first. So we can open the right hand side without too much issue. I did initially try to kill the one on the left whilst his buddies were here protecting him, but it didn't go very well. It just takes too many hits to get them down. So instead I died and I came back, and then I thought I'll damage down the one on the right so he's really low, and then bait him over to the side and kill him. This actually takes a couple of attempts to get right, because the crossbow guy doesn't necessarily want to chase you, he can just shoot you at range, so you need to kind of bait him over, which is quite difficult, whilst you're being chased around by a load of other people who can kill you very easily. But in the end it wasn't too bad. So now that that's over, we need to continue through Drangleic Castle, which seems to be a real fan of killing enemies to open doors and not letting you through otherwise, which is not very good for this run, so I'm going to run into this a few times, but let's take a look at how it goes with the stone soldiers.
Alright, see how bad this is. God, this is gonna suck. Oh, they didn't stagger. Can you backstab these things?
So one of the problems here is that even if you could somehow manage to land the backstab every time, you still take damage during the animation, and given that these are going to take 8 or so backstabs to kill, it's going to be very hard to actually kill them before I end up dying to chip damage.
Stop hitting me!
Cool. Thankfully though, I remembered an old strategy which I've not really used much, but these guys, if you get them into this corridor and they're out of their kind of like, I guess, returning to their position range, then all they'll do is they'll walk at you and they won't actually attack, which is fantastic because that means I can just cheese them all the way down to low health and then try and do a kind of similar thing to Drangleic Gate where I just have to hit them once nearby the door. Alright, that's enough Benny Hill music for this video. I'm going to have this stuck in my head for days after editing this. The run through the rest of Drangleic isn't very interesting. We go and take the spare bonfire before Dragon Riders and then on to the next fight. Honestly, I wasn't sure how I would feel going into Dragon Riders. Usually they're not too bad of a fight because they are quite weak, but on the other hand this is a double fight and double fights are pretty bad in this run, so we'll see how it goes. The first attempt went actually pretty well. I got the guy all the way down to 25%, but then got a bit confused when he took his sword out and ended up dying. But it was pretty indicative that this wouldn't really be that much of a roadblock. I just had to play nice and safe throughout the fight. Turns out that the second Dragon Rider actually has a running attack, which I'm not sure I'd ever seen before. I don't know if the first one does have that running attack or not. Maybe I should look into the code at some point and find out. But I don't think I've ever seen him do it, so that definitely confused me and actually ended up getting me killed on my first attempt. The strategy for the fight was pretty easy. When he has his bow out, you can just run away and then run back in, get 2 hits, rinse and repeat. And then just be careful when he gets his sword out, make sure you have enough space in order to kill him. And then once you're down to a one-on-one, really you shouldn't be dying in this fight. It's very easy to dodge their attacks, so it's just a long process of hitting the dude until he dies. We end up getting through the fight on the third attempt in just 12.5 minutes total. And we use the souls to get one more level of agility because it will help for Mirror Knight's hitboxes. And then I think the final level goes into Dex, which gives me 0 AR, but we've got to work on something. First though, you know what time it is? It's time for killing enemies to open doors. And these enemies are the worst. I really don't like them. But unfortunately, before we even do that, we have to kill this ghost who interrupts you opening the door. And I don't remember the last time this ghost was an issue because, I mean, he dies so fast to everything, including like witching urns. But yeah, turns out killing this ghost is really annoying and I have to do it every single time, so this is going to be fun. Suffice to say, my first attempt with apparently a plan, but I'm not sure what this plan was that I claimed to have in this clip. But whatever it was, it definitely did not work, so we need to think about this a bit more.
This is going to be horrible. Okay, I've got a plan. Okay, my plan failed.
Although it looked like this was going to be pretty bad because hitting these enemies when they're together is really hard, there's actually a strategy which I'm sure most people probably know by now, but it's super useful when trying to deal with these two enemies with bad damage. And the rule is you can just run into this wall, or I guess roll into the wall for a period of time, say a second or so, and you should hear the guy drop down. Did you hear it? My understanding is that this probably has an overlapping aggro box with one of the two enemies, and by just standing in it for a while, you will spawn the event, which drops down, and then you can fight him one-on-one. Once you've killed the ghost, of course. The problem is he's not actually aggroed when he comes down. Ideally, you would shoot him with a bow to gain aggro, but I can't do that, so I don't have a bow. But if you just stand around for long enough, he will eventually randomly look at you and then come and attack. I couldn't help but leave in this clip from the live footage, just to give you context as to what I was thinking about at the time.
Slow progress, Nubis. I think I'm going to get brick walled at Mirror Knight, though. Seriously concerned.
I do eventually get past this enemy. He's really annoying and kills me very quickly, but at least he staggers, so it is possible to just kite him and then come in with a running attack over and over again. And you got to remember to finish with the trusty jumping attack, which for some reason has insanely good tracking in this game. Really good for cleaning up this enemy near the statue at the end. After this, we can go and grab the third item for the run, which is the key to the King's Passage, and then we can move on to Mirror Knight. Perhaps more importantly though, if you don't have a dark sign, then you can just suicide up this elevator to save probably 5 seconds, I don't know. But you need to at least have some fun where you can. We're now approaching 45 minutes into Mirror Knight and the strategies are not looking good. I've come to realize that trying to ignore these two enemies and fight Mirror Knight is just not viable at all. There's so few openings. Obviously I tried seeing if I could backstab the summons, but it's really difficult. Their tracking is so weird. And even if you get the backstab, you can still get hit by Mirror Knight, which isn't great, and it's so dangerous to try and escape without being hit on the way out. So then I tried to stagger them, they don't stagger either. This is looking really bad. The only even marginal strategy that I've come up with, which isn't really that viable, but it's better than nothing, is you can do a single R2 on them, which doesn't stagger them, but the subsequent R2 will stagger them. So if you can get one hit off, then you can maybe chain a couple of hits in the future. Eventually the staggers will reset, but that way you can maybe get 4 hits for every 2 hits rather than just 2, which means you might be able to possibly solo one of them. But yeah, it's not looking good here at all.
So R2 at the start. Then I can do a running attack without having to bait an attack. The thing is, I need to be fast if I'm going to kill them. So R2, bait an attack, R2, run away, run in, running attack. I need to make the next attack an R2. I might even just come in and R2's face. I know. Getting absolutely stomped on by Mirror Knight. Not even at the beginning of strategizing at this point. I'm like ruling out completely dead strats. Hello, Anubis. You have a solution? Go on, let's hear it. Not sure I believe you. What is this? Alright. I'll have a look in a sec. Dude! Show us. Yeah, I'll show it. Damn, Anubis. That's some tech. How old is this video? I'm curious. 6 years ago? Okay. This is Lobos. Yeah, I mean, you're right, Nick. I did try it, though, to be fair. I did try summoning into the fog wall. I didn't try summoning into the corner of the map. I honestly didn't know you could even get them out of bounds. I've never seen this before. Alright, let's begin the memes. I don't have any HP, so this is definitely going to suck. But, I don't know, I've got to try this. I don't even know if it's patched. This video is like 6 years old. You basically need his shield to go out of bounds. It's probably not patched, because this is... I've never even seen this. This is pretty obscure. It might be patched, because it is, like... Maybe you can get an online summon stuck out of bounds. And someone will complain about it, saying they didn't get their chance to kill shit. Now he's going to summon, right? Please? And now you need to summon. Unlucky. We did the shit lightning. Maybe? Fuck.
Coming in with a drive-by to let you know that I've actually figured out the other side is better for getting the dude out of bounds, just because of the way that Mirror Knight's spin lightning works, because he doesn't get stuck on the surrounding area so much. And you've got to be really careful not to get hit by the shield when it comes down, and also when you're trying to get unstuck. There's two different outcomes if you get the dude out of bounds. This is the good one that you see here, where he's on the other side of the pillar, so I can do the second one in the same spot. If he spawns on the left-hand side, then I'll have to do the original Lobos's setup from the other side, which is a bit less reliable. Yeah, so these little pillar stumps have collision, so never fighting this dude here again.
No! Why did he do it? No! Why would he do that attack? Dude, he hasn't done it at all. Oh. Okay, I've got to escape. Let me out. Good. Alright. Phase 3. I don't have much HP, but we've got a chance.
Thankfully we did get through it the third time. I really did not want to have to do all this again. Obviously I celebrated in the only way you really can in this mod, which is to go around and drop rubbish on the boss after killing him. The fight itself was very scary. I almost died quite a few times. It was 15 minutes long since even getting the second summon out of bounds, and in total it was 3 hours to the second since we started the Mirror Knight split, which is quite interesting. Overall, we got through in 53 deaths on this segment.
I would say it is inventive gameplay, really. It's not my fault they let him summon out of bounds.
And with those beautiful moral gymnastics, we're moving on to Amana. I used the souls for Mirror Knight to get 2 more levels of Dex, which actually gives me 0 AR, but I'm trying to build it up because eventually Dex will give me some AR. I decided to go kill the guy at the top of Medulla to get the souls for the next level.
You have died here.
You have died many times. Oh, thank you, asshole. Oh wait, I was gonna kill him. Right.
No. Finally.
After finishing Mirror Knight, I was actually quite hopeful, because there didn't seem to be any more splits ahead of me that were going to deadlock me. And the only multi-enemy boss left was Throne Duo, which I already have a plan for. Going into Amana, the plan was to do a full YOLO hitless, which isn't that reliable of a strategy, but surprisingly you can probably get it certainly within 10 attempts, so I was quite hopeful that this would work out fine. And even if it fails, there's no harm in just taking the bonfire and keep trying until the Archdrakes give you good RNG. If I was playing vanilla, then the sneaky mana strat would have worked really well here though. So that ended up going extremely well. We only took one deliberate death at the middle bonfire, and the rest of the mana was hitless on the first try. Now, I'm not at all worried about the Demon of Song fight because he's very slow and I know all of his hitboxes. But what caught me off guard was this mushroom. Apparently this mushroom is the most difficult thing in a mana when you're doing fist only. Remember, I need to go into the fight with at least half health, just in case Frog decides to do the YOLO charge at you, so I need to be able to tank 1 or 2 hits. Despite going into the first fight on health that would die to a single charge, the first fight actually went really well. Unfortunately, I died near the end.
Oh, really? Oops.
Yo, check out this confidence on someone who's just gotten beaten by a mushroom 5 times in a row.
I mean, there's no way I'm going to get roadblocks at Demon of Song. It's just simply not going to happen.
No, I'm just kidding. The confidence at Demon of Song was validated on the next attempt. So I'm coming back in with post-production here, but I went to bed last night and I was suddenly reminded of that giant mushroom in Royal Wood in DS1. And there's a really famous gif of it on the internet where some dude goes up and gets one shot by the mushroom. But it always tickles me because this is so similar to what happened to me in my first playthrough. I obviously did a blind playthrough, I was wandering around and I was full HP, and okay, maybe I possibly attacked their babies, maybe, but he just came over, one-shot me from behind. So I thought I had to share it for those who haven't seen it before, so you can enjoy it with me. Overall, all of the mana, except the mushroom, went really well. One of the smoothest segments in the entire run. Before we move on, I just want to draw your attention to the damage that I'm doing here, because we're not going to see these numbers again for a long time. Unfortunately in this mod we don't have access to another branch, so we're unable to get to the true shrine of the mana to restore humanity, which would have been really nice. Maybe in a mod in the future I'll add that one back in, just to make life slightly less miserable.
Wait, I can get some extra souls if I kill this thing, right? Watch this. Dude, 300 souls. And 10 souls.
The run through crypt is nothing special. You can just run past all the enemies and hit the rocks with your fist. I did manage to fumble my way past the guards and then open the shortcut ready for Velstadt. I was quietly confident going to Velstadt as it's another one of the fights that I know really well, but I think this just sums it up.
What do you got for me, dude? 15.
When I'm editing this, it always feels like one of those RuneScape videos where they're doing some level grind and it cuts to 30 hours later and the people watching YouTube see about 5 seconds of content. This dude's been slaving away for days of his life. Anyway, I don't have enough space in this YouTube video to show all the fights, otherwise it would go on for hours, so here it is sped up. These fights are becoming such endurance tests now. I can dodge Velstadt for a while, but not taking a single hit in 25 minutes certainly takes its toll. With it though, we get rewarded with our 4th item of the run, which is the King's Ring, and unfortunately I don't have a dark sign, so I have to run all the way back to the bonfire, but that's fine. I actually get 2 whole levels of AR here, so all the leveling dex is starting to pay off. I make sure to go to Bastille to farm up the souls to get the next level. Since I only need 1 ship, I thought I would take the bonfire to get back, and I got to witness this true Tanimura masterpiece. Now, I want to preface this next section with the fact that I don't like the Guardian fight. I don't really like it in the speedrun, although it's a lot better than it used to be because we have so much damage these days. And I don't like it casually. And usually in challenge runs it's okay, but it's just not very interesting. Is it my least favourite boss in the game? Probably not. That would go to Aldia or maybe Gank Squad, depending on what mood I'm in. But it's just a really forgettable boss, so I've never learned to differentiate his attacks or learn the hitboxes too well, and I wasn't particularly confident going into this segment. Anyway, here's some audio from the first attempt at the fight.
I was hoping for a lot more than that. Why's my damage so shit all of a sudden? These people just have more defense or something? I thought I did a lot more damage here. What? Come on, dude. Lovely.
If you are able to hit the head, it does do significantly more damage, but it's just really hard to go for and it's probably not worth the risk. I'm slowly starting to figure out the difference between these fire attacks, but to be honest they all look kind of similar, and I do get it wrong occasionally, especially when he does weird things like this. The problem is that because it's such a long fight, I can't afford to misread the fire attack at all. Even finding interesting clips and editing for this fight is pretty hard, which is depressing considering how much footage I have of this dragon. Honestly, the most interesting thing gameplay-wise was trying to figure out precisely how many hits I could get on the feet after every attack. So forwards fire, you get 3, etc. And single double stomps, you get different amounts. But other than that, it's really just waiting around and trying not to get too confused by the fire attacks.
So I don't know what this is now. Backstep? Yeah, okay. Dodge.
So I'd only been attempting Guardian for about 40 minutes by this point, but I was already getting really bored of this fight. The best fight I'd had so far had only gotten down to 75%, and I really didn't feel like I was learning anything. I've left some audio to explain how I felt at the time.
This fight is so bad, dude. I'm gonna die of boredom. I'm almost tempted to go farm some extra damage here, because I think farming damage is a better use of my time than fighting this guy. Doing 19 damage here. This fight's going to take like an hour. And it's pretty likely I'm going to die in the meantime. How can I get 40k souls?
I wanted to farm up 40k to get another 3 levels just to see if I could get a little bit more AR, because even doing 1 more damage per hit would make this fight a lot better. Though chat suggestions were not very good, although honestly neither were mine. So I decided to score each of the ideas out of 10, loosely based on soul reward versus difficulty, but most likely just an arbitrary decision on how I felt about it. I have to start with the Bastille farm loop, which is what I end up doing the main farming for this section with. It's an easy strategy and surprisingly fun for a farming method, and it brings in 3k a minute, netting it a very solid 8 out of 10.
No, Vendrick is a terrible idea. I'm not doing Vendrick. Ah, but no, I can't get in the DLCs. Would be a lot of souls though. You mean this item? There are no ascetics. The poison frog's where the door closes where you freed the fire merchant. What? Who was the fire merchant?
So after some extensive thinking about this one in editing, I think they're referring to where you unpetrify Rosabeth, and then you get ambushed by the poisoned bullsack dudes, and then you pull the lever to open the door, and then there's a frog who does petrify damage. That's possibly what they're talking about, and to use the bonfire afterwards, and then continuously farm that. But that doesn't really work because the way that door works, if you load in at the bonfire, you rest at the bonfire, you can't open it backwards. So yeah, this is actually not a good idea, if even that's what they were referring to at all.
Do mini rats. Are they only give 70 souls? The invader guy? Maybe, like, how many souls do you give? I can try it. I'm happy to try it.
Shoutouts to Light for getting a score above 2 on the leaderboards. We can only kill him once though for 3k souls, but not too bad. Chat also suggested Gulch Giants around here. They're not a bad idea, and honestly if I got the soul of a giant for the 10k soul reward I would probably do it, but without, they don't actually give enough souls to warrant the pretty annoying fight.
Let's see if I can get the weird AI minute.
I was trying here to get them to fall off because their AI derps about a little bit when you're standing on the ledge of one of these squares sometimes, but honestly I didn't really know what I was doing and I quickly gave up.
Strike crypt. I think this dude's going to be too strong to kill, unfortunately. $150?
This enemy does have the benefit that he infinitely respawns, so farming here would be viable. It's just it takes a little bit too long to kill him for my liking.
Maybe there's some code from strat in Iron Keep. There's a shitload of enemies in Iron Keep, I just don't know how to kill them. How many? 700?
I think if I'd spent longer in Iron Keep, there probably is some strategy to get a decent farming loop going, because these guys give you a lot of souls. 700 each is pretty good, and they do stagger, and there's a lot of lava for killing them, so there probably is a decent strategy somewhere around here. I couldn't end up finding it though. I tried doing some shenanigans, jumping on the edge of ledges and seeing if they would fall off, but didn't end up working out too well. I think in the future this is definitely a good option though. And you get to do this cool jump. I didn't hit the kill box here, but there's actually a fairly reliable death cam glitch you can get, which tends to happen if you land right on the edge.
Wait, I could actually try duo here.
So it's unusual that I would go and fight duo earlier than I have to. It does occasionally happen if you're really unlucky on a randomizer run and the Ashen Mist Heart or something is behind duo. But generally, you don't want to do them because they're just a harder fight than whatever it is you're putting off. In this case, Guardian is the alternative, and almost always duo is going to be a harder fight than Guardian. And in this run, it's no different. Only 17 damage here isn't even enough to move his health bar at all. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to be staying here long. So after all that, we're heading back to Guardian. I'd like to think that we achieved something. We managed to get 3 more levels, which gave me 1 more AR, but unfortunately this actually doesn't change the damage calculation. So largely this was just a waste of time. We finally got the Guardian after coming on 2.5 hours, although probably about an hour of that was farming. I'm really surprised this only had 12 deaths, but I think it's just the length of each fight was so long it really took it out of you. The final fight was a grueling 38 minutes long. I guess it's not even worth saying by this point, but the Guardian Souls go into Dex and give me 0 AR. The main concern for the Giant Lord split is going to be the time limit inside the fight. I would have been confident that I could get through the fight within 5 minutes if I was doing 50 damage like I was back at Demon of Song, but if I'm only doing 19, then it's probably not going to happen. In the past, in some meme runs I've done, I've allowed myself to use Ring of Thorns or the Butterfly set to do some passive damage to Giant Lord, just to get him down in time, but given that none of those are in the mod, I'm kind of concerned that it's not actually going to be possible at all. First though, we need to grab the Ashen Mist Heart, which is the 5th and final item available in the run. And then usually you would just Dark Sign out here, but again I realise I don't have it. So I decided to take the time to do a little bit of farm checking on these knights who give 2200 souls each. Maybe this will be an option in the future. I've decided to keep some clips of the first attempt. Remember, on the first attempt at a boss, I just try and see what the kind of situation is, and I'm always looking out for new farming spots, which is going to be very important here.
This might be a good farming spot as well. Look at that, 2600 souls. 7k souls, dude. I didn't do anything.
Amusingly, throughout the fight, my optimism quickly goes down.
Do you reckon I can do this in 5 minutes? Probably not, right? I'm pretty sure I'm not doing nearly enough damage. I'm pretty certain this is not enough damage. I'm not even sure triple damage would be enough here.
Yep. Okay, I guess we're locked here then.
So, in summary, no, I don't have enough DPS to kill Giant Lord, and it's not even close.
I spent the next 30 minutes or so testing out the farming strategy here. It certainly gives you a lot of souls really quickly, but there's a lot of things that can kill you, like the fireballs or just the giants themselves. And one of the major things we needed to figure out was how I was actually going to get these souls out of the memory, until chat came up with the legitimately incredible suggestion that the optimal method is to go into the memory, farm the souls from the giants as soon as possible, and then instantly die, walk back to the previous bonfire, and then keep repeating this. And then when you actually want to get the souls out, you can wait out the timer of the Giant Lord fight. So every so often, I will have to go and stand in this little corner and wait for the time to exhaust. It feels to me like a little Mission Impossible game, and we're trying to exfiltrate as many souls per minute as possible. The strategies at the start are a little bit wonky, but after about half an hour, I'm getting very efficient at killing these enemies and dying in a safe spot I can pick up my souls on the next pass. After farming the first 120k, I decide to exfiltrate the first set of souls and go and level up. In the meantime, whilst I'm waiting at this corner, I decide to do some science. So the code you've been seeing on screen is a representation of a formula that Lord Red-Eye came up with for how to calculate damage in this game. But I only got halfway through coding it up and things like fist damage isn't in there, unfortunately. So we're going back to farming and I'm going to get another 100k, and then during the next exfiltration of souls, I'm going to go back to Lord Red-Eye's formula, which I'll show in the background, and I'm going to try and read up to see what I'm missing, like what am I not calculating correctly here. By this point, I'd added 7 AR to when I started, so I wanted to go back and just quickly check what the damage was on Giant Lord now. As I'd expected, it hadn't gone up at all. So there was something wrong with the damage formula, I think, to do with when you're doing negative damage, i.e. you're not doing enough damage to break the enemy's defense. But during the last farming session, I had looked up some of the values for the Giant Lord parameters, and I'd been calculating how much AR I believe I would need in order to start seeing some actual results. And that answer is 122. You would think that I had actually tested whether this was even possible before starting this run, but unfortunately I hadn't, so I decided to make a test character and give myself the 122 AR that I'd thought about, and just see if it's even possible then, and if it is, then I'll commit to farming it, and if it isn't, then, well, I don't know, maybe this run isn't possible at that point. But at 125 AR, it seems that we have enough time. I finished this fight with maybe 10 seconds left on the clock, so it looks like it's possible. This was also not a perfect fight, so it might even be possible at 122 AR. So committing to this is a 1.2 million soul investment. Even by squeezing out every possible second in the optimal farming segment, this is still committing to a 3-hour long grind. Trying to balance risk versus reward here, I decide to bank every 150k, which means I need to do 7 full cycles in order to get the souls for the 122 AR. So now we've got just about enough AR, I hope. It's time to see if we can get all the way through the fight. This fight's going to have to be nearly perfect, not wasting damage on negative stamina, and certainly not getting hit. Despite only dying on the fight a few times, the whole segment took 4.5 hours, mainly due to the huge farm we had to do here. But this was actually quite an interesting split, and I really enjoyed it. Just the final boss rush left. Now you would think duo is going to be a really hard fight, and it will be hard, but we have a sneaky strategy up our sleeve, which is the old patch fall off mechanic. It's not patched in Scholar, so we can still get away with it. It is going to be more difficult though, because I only have to block with my fists rather than a shield. So I'm basically just going to have to try this a few times. I can only afford to block maybe 2 attacks before I have to reset. Obviously there's a huge benefit in doing this though, is that you get around the healing mechanic where they revive each other. So it means that once I've got Watcher dead, all I need to do is hold my nerve against a pretty long defender fight, one-on-one. I was pleasantly surprised to get through Geo on the second attempt and didn't have any chokes to Defender, so the whole split only took 20 minutes. But I will absolutely take it, and we're moving on to the final boss, Nishandra. Nishandra actually has a lower defense than Defender in the game files, and she's also weak to strike damage, which is what fists are, so I'm quietly confident this fight's going to go okay. The main concern is to try and get away from these curse orbs as soon as possible and bait Nishandra out so I can fight her in the open.
$90 damage! Oh dude, living the dream. You guys ever seen such damage? She doesn't stand a chance, dude.